Are you tired of games of the year and 100-unit locks? If so, check out the professional handicappers at WagerTalk.com today. We leave all that nonsense for the other guys. And for a limited time, new users get their first daily picks purchase up to $40 for only $1. $1? Whose idea was that? Johnny Detroit? I guess so. To redeem this special, just go to WagerTalk.com, choose a handicapper and their picks package using coupon code TRYWagerTalk when checking out.
4. Hello all, PGA Tour back for another weekly stop. This week we are in Canada for the RBC Canadian Open. With me as always, Andy Lang of WagerTalk.com. I'm Nick Borrman here to break it all down, and I guess there might be more going on in the golf world this week than just the PGA Tour, but we'll get to that shortly. Andy, my friend, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Looking forward to this event, and then, of course, gearing up for next week. This should be a very low-scoring affair, so expect a lot of birdies, probably several eagles mixed in, coming off a winning week, so that's always good. I'm in a good mood and looking forward to it. And, yes, I can't believe we're going to have to search YouTube to find the Saudi Arabian League. I can't believe this is real life, that I'm going to have to search for Team Torque and Team Smash and Team Fireballs, but this is the world that we live in right now, Nick. So honestly, if you think about it, maybe one of the more memorable golf weeks that we've had in a long time. I might, 10 years from now, I might be going, do you remember the first week of the Saudi Arabia League? Do you remember that? Can you believe we watched that? So, should be a very, very interesting week of golf. How are you doing?
It's either going to be the NBA taking over the ABA and being the new product, or it's going to be the XFL that he hates me, just after a season, or not even. We'll see. But it is definitely the story this week, and I know I will be tuning in, as I'm sure a lot of people will. So as they were hoping for, they are definitely going to take some viewership from the PGA Tour this week. You got to check out what the hell's going on and what it's all about. So more to that a little bit later. Let's take care of a little business for this week. We do have a promo code for you guys. We got the Canadian Open, so the promo code this week is Canada20. Save $20 off either Andy or myself's weekly tournament package. Normally priced at $39. Grab it for just $19. So you can have it at WagerTalk.com on either one of our profile pages to check that out. Get all 4 days of coverage, everything we include in the pack. So definitely a good deal and worth checking out. Andy, we always like to talk about last week as we start the show. It was the Memorial Tournament, always a great golf course, great tournament. And, I think it was rather lackluster this year, of course, because the thing was wrapped up Saturday night. What was the most amazing thing that I saw was the fact that you could get Billy Horschel minus 190 to win going into that final round with a 5-shot lead. So to me, that was just crazy value. I mean, you'd see anybody else. I mean, imagine if you saw John Rahm with a 5-shot lead, he'd be like minus 2,000. Well, he'd be higher than that. He'd be like minus 100. It'd be 100 to 1 the opposite way. So it was rare to see that as minus 190. I took a little action of it just because I'm like, that's going to be pretty hard. But it's not like Billy Horschel has not won before. He's a proven PGA Tour winner, so I figured he could hang on to a lead like that. And of course, that's what he did. He parred out and did exactly. He played for the win and just said, "Come get me." And Memorial's hard enough where nobody could. So let's get into our best bets and worst bets from last week. As always, I'll give the honor to you. What was your highlights and forgettable moments from last week?
Well, I only had 3 plays and went 2-1 and hit a really good +1. So just over 3 units, which beautiful week for me. That's kind of how I bet on golf. Best bet by far was Eric Van Rooyen to miss the cut. That was a +136. He's battling some injury. He's not disclosing what the injury is, but he absolutely is battling with an injury. He withdrew in a couple tournaments before they even teed off, and then he's just been terrible since. And he was good earlier in the year, so this has been a real sudden change. So to get him at +136 to miss the cut, easily my best bet. Worst bet. The worst bet is a top 3 for this year. Nick Borrman, took Patrick Reed over Billy Horschel. let's just say it did not win. Let's also say it never had a shot. And you know what? Sometimes, and I'm not going to say sometimes, I would rather lose in this fashion rather than sweat a 4-rounder and then lose by 1 late on Sunday. So I would rather lose in spectacular fashion and just get it over with. So Eric Van Rooyen to miscut. Best bet, Patrick Reed over Billy Horschel, just an all-time stinker. So what about you? How'd you fare?
First, I can't say that I have not faded and bet against the winner of a golf tournament many a times in my day. So I definitely feel your pain. And speaking of sweating it out and losing, late on Sunday, my best bet last week was Kuchar, top 40. And he was +2, went in 18, made bogey to get +3. And at the time, it was like tied for 52nd or something. And then, of course, when we was playing hard enough, by the time the tournament ended, +2 would have been in the top 40. So he bogeyed the last hole and missed that by 1 shot. So thank you for bringing that up. That makes me feel so good. So that was my, I guess, my worst bet for the week because it was my best bet. It was my 3% play. I did mention last week I changed up my strategy for this week, which worked out well other than the Kuchar bet. I took 4 guys, each of them outright, each of them top 10, each of them top 20. 2 of those were Will Zalatoris and Max Homa, which each cashed the top 10 and top 20. And those 2 bets alone would have covered everything and made a little bit of money. But Kuchar did miss that by 1 shot. So I finished -1 to -1.25 units for the week. But really one shot. Same with Lowry was my other bet. He missed the top 20 by 1 shot as well. So, but that's golf. It seems to happen far too often to me, or at least that's all I ever end up remembering. But I think it was still a good week. And I'm excited to kind of move forward with that strategy as we go into the Canadian Open this week. So without further ado, let's take a look at the top 10 guys coming into this week. We always like to start off the show with this graphic. Billy Horschel was not inside the top 10 last week, but he wasn't far behind. He was in the top 20. I think he was ranked either 15th or 16th. So not far off the list. And again, it's just another good way to kind of look at players coming in. They got to be in some sort of form. It's very rare you're going to get somebody that's like, outside the top 50 or especially 100, at least in strokes gained, coming into a tournament that's going to all of a sudden win. So he was right there, just not quite in that top 10. But the top 10 this week is led by, of course, world number 1, Scotty Scheffler, who's 9-1 to win this week, averaging over +2.5 strokes gained per round. And you got a pretty strong field here. I mean, you got 5 of the top 10 in the world in the field this week. You got Cam Smith, Justin Thomas, Rory McIlroy, and Sam Burns all in the top 10, all on this list. Then the field kind of lightens up a little bit. You only have then 9 of the top 25, which you see a few others here: Lowry, Fitzpatrick, Tyrrell Hatton. And then, of course, you only have 12 of the top 50. So it's a very top-heavy field this week. I made a couple notables there. Chris Kirk is the next on the list. He is number 11, so I wanted to show you how quickly it kind of drops off. But Kirk has been playing respectable. I put Patrick Reed in there because he has kind of shown some flashes recently. Over his 6-month stretch is not that great, but over a shorter 2 or 3 month stretch is a little bit better. And then, of course, we have Justin Johnson rounding out the list here, but he is in London, so he was 4-1 when I first saw the odds on Monday. He's actually at 5-1 now over there, but we'll get into that later. But I thought it would be fun to put him on the list here. So thanks for your resignation, DJ. We'll see you over there in London. Andy, let's break down this week's tournament course, field. What is important for the viewers to know heading into the Canadian Open this week?
Well, by far the most important thing is make sure you're not looking at the last few years of course history, because this trips a lot of people up. This is a different course. They haven't played this one since 2010, when your boy Carl Peterson
I had to look that up too. I'm like, who?
I've played fantasy golf for so long. I remember I've used Carl Peterson in some lineups. But yeah, so
wait. You didn't use the runner-up though, Dean Wilson. I know you didn't do that.
I did not use him, but use him. But you got to remember, in 2010, Peterson was good. This was David Lingmerth. You definitely used David Lingmerth start. Oh man, unbelievable! Yeah, Brendan Todd was a top tier guy. So All right, so let's look at this course. So it's short overall in yardage. And just, some of the holes, they have 5 par 3s. 4 of them are over 200 yards. But they're going to shred the par 4s and 5s. They have 10 par 4s. 3 of them are less than 400 yards. And the 3 par 5s, all of them you can go for in 2 if you hit the fairway. In fact, Carl Peterson shot -10 on the par 5s alone in 2010. Easy course. You can get in trouble if you miss the fairway. It's the way a lot of the Canadian courses, and correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of the Canadian courses, there's just not a lot of room. So what you have is a lot of trees, smaller courses. They're really tight, but they're short. You're going to have rain and moisture Monday, Tuesday, and probably Wednesday, which means they're going to be just shooting darts at these greens. It's going to be a low scoring paradise. So as far as I don't know if there's one stat in particular, especially because we have the major coming up, but I don't like guys that are going to be wayward off the tee. I think that's the only way that's the only thing that could really trip you up this week. Obviously putting is going to be one thing, but there's some courses where if you miss the fairway, it's not that big of a penalty. I think if you're wayward, you can get behind some trees and take away some really good birdie opportunities. And make no mistake, you're going to have a lot of birdies and eagles to compete for a win or even a top 10, because there's going to be too many guys going really, really low. So, you spray it into the trees on a gettable par 5. That's like, and you make a par, that's like a bogey. So that's my take on the course. What say you?
Yeah, you took the words kind of out of my mouth as far as a stat that I don't usually look at too often. I think the only way you get into trouble this week is off the tee. Like you mentioned, it can be tree lined, and then there are instances of the rough, not the first cut necessarily right off the fairway, but the next cut. It can be upwards of 5 to 6 inches. I've been reading when you miss a little bit further off the fairway. So if you're going to get in trouble here, it's going to be by missing fairways. So do pay attention to at least a little bit of driving accuracy. The greens are very small, but it does, like last week, Memorial is very difficult around the greens when you miss. Here, it's not as much so. So even though they're smaller, seems like the up and down or, around the green kind of game isn't as, it's important, but it's not as detrimental, and it won't you're not looking at double necessarily when you miss the green in the wrong spots here. But the greens are only 4,000 square feet. And just to kind of give you an idea what that means, the smallest greens on the tour are Pebble. They're 3,500 square feet on average. Each of the last 2 weeks, Colonial and Muirfield are 5,000 on average. So a lot smaller than that. But again, just not quite as difficult around the greens. So I think I agree with you there on pay attention to off the tee. Weather, you mentioned rain. It does have a chance of rain on a couple of the tournament days as well, and overnight during the tournament days. I think 3 out of the 4 days, whether it's during the day or nighttime. So you're right about conditions are going to play soft. I was reading that the tournament committee may determine pin selections and try to place them a little bit more difficult if the conditions prove to be very soft. So I guess there's a chance they can kind of shoot at the hip, if you will, on pin selections each round, depending on how soft they think the course is going to play, just to try to fight back at what these guys should be able to do when they're hitting into the greens. But it's Canada. It's literally 70 degrees or like 69 degrees is the high all 4 days. So very, very comfortable as far as temperatures goes. There is a little bit of wind, 10 to 15 miles an hour, pretty much all 4 days and pretty much morning to evening. So there's no real advantage there, but it is something to note that there is some wind in play. And the only other thing I'll mention is I already said it kind of in the preview of the strokes gained, is it's very top heavy. The top 5 in the field, I kind of listed their credentials for you. So you got, of course, world number 1, Scotty Scheffler, 4-time winner this year, players champion, Cameron Smith. You got PGA champion, Justin Thomas. You got the defending champion, and that's from 2019 because they haven't played it in 2 years, Rory McIlroy. And then Sam Burns, who's won 3 times this year. So it's a pretty strong top 5 or top 10 list as far as world rankings goes there. And then it does fall off quite a bit. So I don't think you're going to look too far down the odds board, unfortunately, this week. The last thing I'll mention is, at least for me and my strategy, is I do like to look at guys coming off of missed cuts in their last start because, especially the better players don't tend to stay down for too long. So that would be Matthew Fitzpatrick, perhaps, and maybe JT. He did miss the cut in his last start, but perhaps avoid those that are looking ahead to next week's U.S. Open. So that's JT again. So now I've kind of just confuse the hell out of myself on what to do with JT. But probably last mention is you said the course rotates every year. This is Canada's national championship. So just like the U.S. Open, it does rotate. This is the sixth time it's held here, but no Canadian. All right, Corey Connors fans, no Canadian has won since 1954. So pay attention to that, as I think there's 20-some Canadians in the field. Corey Connors obviously is the one most people are going to gravitate to. But, listen, history is meant to be broken. Records meant to be broken. So maybe that'll change this year. But I certainly left him off my list just because of that one stat. All right, Andy, let's get into a little bit of our bets for the week. I guess I'll go first, and call me a glutton for punishment, but I'm back to the well here again on Shane Lowry. I love this guy. Eventually, he's going to win for me, and I'm going to go, see, I told you. And because I mentioned that this is such a top-heavy field, outside of those top 5 guys, I mean, the next 5 are all very, very good, and this seems like a week where the field drops off so quickly. They're in that. They should be there come Sunday, and maybe this is a better chance for them to win than next week at the U.S. Open. So I like Lowry. Last week, he was his worst finish in 12 tournaments, where he finished tied for 32nd last week. Otherwise, that was a streak of 11 straight top 25 finishes, which was snapped. So tied for 32nd is not too far off. But again, in this watered-down, top-heavy field, I do expect him there come Sunday. Otherwise, he's been steady as they come. Top 14 finishes in 9 of his last 12 starts. He sits 11th strokes gained approach, number 2 proximity to the hole, and when he misses, number 1 in scrambling, number 8 in sand save. So Lowry 20 to win, won this week, a little shorter than he was last week, but rightfully so with this week's field. So it probably won't happen again. I'm already counting it as a loss, but I got to bet. I have to bet. He's going to come through eventually. So. Andy, who are you avoiding this week? I love this segment, players that can trip you up. Who should we lead off our betting cards this week?
All right. Well, if you follow our live chat, Ralph the Cat loves coming in. Yeah, that's his handle. Ralph the Cat loves making fun of me when I'm wrong. And this was by far my worst performance on guys that can trip you up. So knock yourself out, Ralph. So last week I had Cantlay, Sung J M, and Billy Horschel. I think they all finished top 10. you could have made a dynamite DraftKings lineup with those guys. So, but you know what? These tournaments are tough because I have to pick big names. And let's face it, there's a shortage of big names here. So my options are limited. I wanted to bring this guy up, Sam Burns. So I was researching Sam Burns, and here's why this is a guy that can trip you up. So check this out, Nick. I think he's the new all or nothing. I think Colin Morikawa had this. Yeah. So I went back and I counted this up. So in 2021 and 2022, Sam Burns has played in 40 tournaments. He only has 3 finishes between 27th and 70th. So he's either like way at the top or he misses the cut. So it's like there's really no reason to ever play Sam Burns top 40. You basically are going to play him like to miss the cut or top 20, So he's just one of those guys that he's never okay. He's either on fire or he's just awful. I guess the other thing I looked at, the last major, the PGA Championship, the week before he missed the cut. Maybe he's, getting a little excited about the majors. Look ahead, possibly. So Burns is he's 14 to 1. One of the higher priced guys on DraftKings. I just don't think there's a whole lot of value in betting on a guy that is feast or famine. So I guess he's a good outright. Him and Scheffler have combined for 8 wins this season. Yep. So yeah. So but as far as like DraftKings or head-to-head matchups, no, thank you. Next up, you mentioned him. I know this isn't the same course, but Corey Connors. Why is Corey Connors so bad playing in Canada? He's played in 6 Canadian Opens. He's missed the cut in 5 of them. And the one time he did make the cut, he finished 80th. And this isn't like Corey Connors was terrible for all those years. And, and then just the last couple of years have been good. This guy was okay and just cannot make the cut at the Canadian Open. I know it's a different course, but I have a lot of questions, and I think with some of these guys that are entered, I'm not going to go anywhere near Corey Connors. I would rather take Harold Varner, Tyrell Hatton, some of those guys that are priced near him. So I'll fade. I go for one of the top guys, Scheffler, Thomas, McIlroy, or Smith. I'm gonna say Justin Thomas can trip you up. He missed the cut the week after he won the major, took last week off. I'm wondering if his attention is on next week's tournament. And Nick, we mentioned driving. He's 148th in driving accuracy. So I mean, is the second highest priced guy on DraftKings. He's 10-1 to win. Only Scheffler's a little bit better than him. So I think if there's one guy that you can pluck out of there and say maybe he's a look ahead, maybe his driving takes away some scoring opportunities, it could be Justin Thomas. We all know he can go out and win, but I think that miscut after the major and then this second major coming up so quick leads me to believe I'm probably not going to have him in any of my lineups.
I think that's a good list right there. I'm going to quickly defend you. Okay, so for Ralph, against Ralph, listen, if you're taking the best guys in the field, okay, to trip you up, and they finish outside the top 25, to me, that's tripped up. I mean, if you got a guy that's like 10-1 or 14-1, I think that's pretty good. He's not in the top 10. He's not right there in contention. I think that's a pretty good bet when you're betting against him. Of course, last week, Horschel winning was certainly, tripping you up, whatever you want to say. So that one maybe not. But normally, listen, you go. I said it last week. You got some cojones to go out on a limb and take the big names and avoid those guys. And some of those guys, the only way you're going to bet them is outright because their odds get so short on even a top 10 or a top 20. So I think it's good when they just finish outside the top 20. So I'm here for you, Andy. I got your back.
Appreciate you.
And I will once again gladly say I am not on any of those guys because usually that is wrong for me when I do fade you there. Although I wish I would have been on, again, Horschel last week. I could have really rode you hard on that one, but we move on. I will throw out another outright I'm looking at this week. And if you watched last week's show, you might be like tapping your monitor thinking, I think this thing is stuck on repeat. Because I'm going back to another guy that I said last week, and that's Matthew freaking Fitzpatrick.
And keep going back to him.
I love him and I love Lowry, and I love Fitzpatrick more this week because of the fact that he did miss the cut at the Memorial, and he doesn't stay down for very long. It's the craziest stat from last week, and I had to double check this, was he ranked second in the field in strokes gained tee to green Thursday and Friday, Andy, and he missed the cut. Second.
Wow.
Dead last in putting. In putting. And before heading into that tournament, he was ranked inside the top 20 in putting this year. So now he's fallen down to 32nd on the season. So I think it's an anomaly. There's no way, putting we know can be volatile week to week, and there's no way that putter is going to stay as cold as it was. And if his tee to green game is as sharp as it was still last week, even though he wasn't there on the weekend, I got to expect a bounce back this week. So it is 3 miscuts now in 12 starts for Fitzpatrick, but in the other 9, he's been in the top 14 in all of them, including 7 in the top 10. So when he's there and he makes the weekend, expect him in that contention on Sunday, which I do. His strokes gain numbers are very, very impressive. 11th off the tee, which again is important this week to stay in play. 8th around the green, and overall 3 tee to green, which all leads to number 1 total strokes gained on tour this season, 4th best scoring average. Fitzy's going to rebound for me this week. I'm calling it. He's going to rebound. He's going to be in contention. He's also 20-1. So him and Lowry. Listen, if they let me down this week and you let me take them next week, I'm blaming you. This is on you. So second, what do they say? First, fool me once, fool me twice. I don't know how that saying goes. Don't let it happen to me a third time. But hopefully next week I'm gloating about one of those two coming through for a victory. All right, let's go back to you for your DraftKings darlings. And listen, I'm going to tune out on your segment here as well because I know one of your guys is going to be CT Pan. I just know it. I haven't looked at your list yet, but I just know it. If he is, I don't want to steal your thunder, but I know he's going to be on there because you love that guy. So if I did, I'm sorry. DraftKings darlings, Andy, who do you got?
Okay, so DraftKings is just like for me personally, these DraftKings lineups have actually become a pretty decent part of my bankroll. I've upped the amount that I'm wagering on this lineup. So I only do a head-to-head. I take the best lineup that I give out on the show, and I just do one head-to-head. I don't enter any of the big tournaments. I just want to try and double up my money or get like 45%. And we hit last week. All of my guys made it through. We had Perez, Fowler, Pan, Reed, Spieth, and Rahm. And even though I got all of my guys through, the person I was going up against with did not have All their guys, they missed one, and I won by like 4 or 5 points. It literally came down to the last few holes. But that's 13-6 this year with DraftKings lineups and head-to-head. So I'm a believer in this strategy. And all right, let's go through my guys. It is so tough this week to get a big name guy in there. The bottom of the bottom, like the guys under 7,000 are so bad that it's just I could not find a way to get any of those top guys. I couldn't. So we'll start with David Lipsky. This first time I've used him. He's only 7,300, but this is a guy that's quietly made the cut in 12 out of 16 tournaments in 2022, including 5 out of the last 6. So again, these lower tier guys, you get points on the weekend out of them. You're going to be in great shape. I got to go back to Pat Perez. This guy just keeps making the cut. 7,600. He's now made the cut in 9 out of 10 tournaments. Seems to like playing in Canada. He does not like playing in Mexico, as he had the epic, we'll just call it food poisoning incident in Mexico. But he likes playing north of the border. So Pat Perez has been a great one for DraftKings. And my last guy's been great as well, Dylan Fratelli. Nick, we talked about him, how consistency has been his issue. He has apparently fixed that. He's made the cut in 9 straight PGA tournaments. That is something he's never come close to doing. And at 7,600, we get him to make the cut, and we should be in really, really good shape. So my DraftKings darlings are Lipsky, Perez, and Fratelli. And I will complete my lineup with CT Pan, who is a little too expensive to be considered.
I knew he was going to be there.
He's too expensive to be considered a darling. So, but I mean, the guy just keeps making cuts. And then I'm with you. I'm taking Matthew Fitzpatrick. I love him coming off a miscut. This is a great bounce back spot for him. And then quietly, Tyrrell Hatton just makes the cut on the PGA Tour this year. So I think this should be a pretty good course for him. So if I can get all those guys to make the cut, I like my chances to cash yet again. So Lipsky, Perez, Fratelli, Pan, Fitzpatrick, and Hatton. It's my best lineup this week, Nick.
What's CT Pan's price since he didn't make the cut here?
It's like 8,100.
Okay.
It's like 81. Yeah, he's over 8,100. But normally, you know me. Normally, I like to have guys under 7,000, but I just couldn't get there on any of them. So you just have to kind of squish it down and say I can't have any of the big name guys, but I don't have to have anybody under 7,000.
Yep. Yeah, and I like your list. Pat Perez, I think he was on your list last week. I think, wasn't he?
He was only 6,600. They bumped him up 1,000 if they finally figured him out.
Water downfield too, but listen, he always he's been doing well, and the camera loves him, or the coverage loves him, because no matter where he's at, I feel like at least for one of the weekend days, they're showing him whether that's because he's in contention or he's not. He's always on camera somewhere. But versus like David Lipsky, I never see him on coverage ever. So definitely a good find on Lipsky. So good luck to you there. Let's get into our best bets for this week. I will go first. Last week I already mentioned my best bet was a top 40 on Kuchar, who lost that by 1. I'm going to try another top 40 this week, and that is the short and straight Brendan Todd. Todd ranks number 5 on tour in driving accuracy, which again we mentioned already. We both think will be important this week. And year in and year out, he's one of the best on tour in putting. He ranks 6th this year, strokes gained putting, after ranking number 8 last year. So it's not a fluke. He also has a very, very good short game, ranking 12th in scrambling. He's been playing some pretty solid golf as well. He's got it finishes inside the top 40 in 4 of his last 6 starts, including a solo third in his last start at the Charles Schwab Challenge. While he also ranks 15th in this field in total strokes gained over the last 2 months. So he's been playing a little better in recent months, and he has some decent numbers as far as off the tee and putting. So I think he's worth a shot. Get a small plus price on Brendan Todd, top 40, plus 110. I think it's worth a few bucks, and that is my best bet of the week. Andy, your best bet for this week is?
A couple of weird guys here you wouldn't expect, but Ryan Armour over Harry Higgs. This is just a massive fail on Harry Higgs. I can't believe they put him in a matchup. So he's missed the cut in 10 out of 15 tournaments this year. The highlight was when he lifted up his shirt on the 16th green at the Waste Management. That's literally his highlight of the year. He's been bad recently. He's missed the cut in 5 out of 6. The tournament he made the cut was last week. So he squeaks inside the cut line, and he ends up shooting plus 15 Nice tournament, Harry. So Ryan Armour, listen, he's not amazing, but he's made the cut in 3 out of his last 5. His 2 missed cuts, he missed it by 1 shot and 2 shots. So he's right on the edge there. Harry Higgs is bad, just really, really bad right now. So I'll take Ryan Armour over him this week is my best bet.
I like that matchup. Definitely like it. So good luck on there. Before we end today, let's talk a couple last little things. First, we've been doing the winning score segment, right? So I happened to get lucky and get the number right on the head last week at 13 under par. Nailed that one on there. So if anybody needed that as a tiebreaker in some sort of pool you're in, hopefully that helped get you over the edge. Not that a pool ever comes down to the tiebreaker in golf, but if it did, maybe I helped you out there. You were right though, as far as you said you felt somebody would go a lot lower than the field, and he did. It's just the total scores overall were a little higher than I think we both expected. He was separated by the field by quite a bit, so made for a lackluster finish. So I'll give you credit on that one as well. This week, we both think it's going to play a little easier. I'm a little concerned, I guess. Just only I don't know if there's to it, but like I said, that the course committee could kind of fight back if the course is playing hard, and they might put some holes in some tougher spots. So I do expect it lower. I'm kind of stuck in the, mid to higher teen numbers, and I don't know if I should be like at 15 or 16. You might want to go a little higher than that, so I'll play it safer. I'm going to go 15 under this week. I think gets the job done. I'm going to imagine you're going to go a little higher than me, but what do you think is going to get it done this week?
Yeah, it's tough when you have a watered down field like this because you don't have the best talent. Sure. The guys, the number of guys that can go low, really do. But with these short par 4s and these par 5s, I think you can have a guy who can average 2 birdies on the par 5s, maybe even an eagle, go -3. I think you're going to have somebody go -5 each round or around there and get it to -20. So I'm going to go with -20, and I would like to file a complaint because last week you went first and you picked -13. So I literally had no shot to win. I had no shot to win, which is unfair.
I am sorry about that. But listen, that's the benefit of winning the previous week, right? You got to go first.
Absolutely. You won the previous week. You got honors. That's the benefit.
You could be right on the score this week, though. I do think it's going to play a little bit easier. And I forgot to mention in the course preview that it's a par 70, and it is unique because it's usually a par 70 you see just 2 par 5s, but it is 3 par 5s this week in the par 70. So there definitely is some more scoring opportunities. And I guess we'll end talking. We have to talk a little bit about what's going on across the pond with the LIV Golf Series. So I guess the field's set. We know the 48 players there. We know the money at stake. Right now, though, it looks like, I use Data Golf. I mentioned that, during all their shows as far as strokes gain numbers, great tool. And they pull odds from different sports books. Right now, they're showing odds for both Bet365 and FanDuel, along with William Hill. But at least where I am in New Jersey, I pull up, I don't have the William Hill app, but I do have Bet365 and FanDuel. And neither one of them is showing odds for me. So I don't know if it's.
I don't have it either. I don't have anything like it. Yeah.
But so I'm a little confused at how this is going to work. I'm not surprised that the books may take it a little later, at least on what they allow or what they put up for bets this week. But maybe it'll come up. I mean, we got a couple days yet. Maybe it'll come up before the tournament gets underway. I'm excited to see the shotgun starts. I'm excited to see the team competition kind of going on with the stroke play. Maybe it's gimmicky, but you know what?
Maybe it's gimmicky.
I got to defend it because our best tournaments of the year at the club are the gimmicky ones. You got your member guests where you got a bunch of little matches going on. We just played a Cinco de Clubo on Cinco de Mayo. We had about 5 clubs in the tournament. That was it. It was great. It was great, man. So yes, awesome. On a professional level, I guess it's probably a little gimmicky, but I guarantee there's going to be a lot of people watching this week just to see what the hell it's all about. So I don't know if I can offer any betting advice yet because there's not a lot of markets out there that you can kind of tackle at this point. DJ is listed, at least at the odds that are pulling for me, at 5-1 as the favorite. You got Taylor Gooch at 9-1. So the field does fall off pretty quickly, but it'll be interesting to see. Andy, any notes from you on what's going on over there?
Yeah, I'd just like to mention the team names here. I'm guessing the players did not have a say in this. So you have Dustin Johnson, captain of the Four Aces, Graham McDowell, captain of the Neeblicks, Poulter, captain of the Majestics, Kevin Na, the Ironheads captain, Louis Oosthuizen, Team Stinger, Martin Keimer, Team Cleeks, Peter Uline, Team Crushers, Phil Mickelson, the High Flyers, not HIGH Flyers, HY Flyers. Sergio, this is my favorite, Sergio Garcia, captain of the Fireballs.
Nice.
and
Nice.
then Siwon Kim, Team Smash, captain Taylor Gooch, Torque, their team name is Torque, and Wade Ormsby, Punch. Those are the team names. I will say this. I guess I heard one take today was like, well, DJ and Phil, they move the needle. You would watch it. Listen, Phil is entertaining, but he's not good at golf right now. Like, I think the level of golf is going to be strikingly bad from once you get outside of DJ and Na and some of these other guys. I'm not sure how entertaining that is going to be. I think it's going to be entertaining for a little bit. I think this falls off a cliff pretty soon. I think the novelty wears off, especially trying to follow these teams. That being said, the one thing that they can do is they can grab some guys from the PGA Tour that are struggling to make the cut. And, hey, if you finish dead last, I would not be surprised to see Ricky Fowler over there sooner rather than later. You know what I mean? Like somebody like that. I could. Why wouldn't you throw a bunch of money at Ricky Fowler to try get him over there? Like, hey, you can at least compete over here as opposed to the Monday qualifier Ricky Fowler that we see now. I have a lot of questions. It seems clunky. You have to watch it on YouTube. That being said, there have been a lot of businesses and a lot of ideas that have been laughed at the very beginning. And I'm not going to, I'm having fun with this, but I'm not going to discount it. My prediction is this falls apart quicker rather than later. And I will also say, if you're being promised a lot of money by Saudi Arabians and this product doesn't go well, what are you going to do if they just say we're not paying you?
Go to the BBB?
Are you gonna,
does that work?
Are you going to sue them in a Saudi Arabian court? Like what's the breach of contract? I don't know if you've noticed, these are not guys that are super reasonable when it comes to money. I just see this getting very messy, and maybe you could convince me otherwise if somebody else was the big name, but Greg Norman, who, Nick, I would say arguably top 5 unlikable guy over his career and years based on comments, is not exactly a great ambassador. It could be entertaining. Enjoy it while you can. I'm not going to rule it out, but they got a big steep hill to climb to win people over with this one.
Yeah, I would listen. I would venture to say, otherwise these guys are very dumb, that those checks, those appearance checks have already cashed before a guy like DJ resigns from the PGA Tour. Otherwise, that might be the dumbest move in the history of mankind. So tournament money, prize money, maybe you're right. Maybe they haven't, but at least those big names, I better hope they cash their paychecks already, but we'll see. Listen, they're going to win me over. I'll say one thing. They will win me over if they come out to, just like dodgeball does, just like the average Joes do, just like the Purple Cobras do, to like some awesome anthem, and they're all wearing uniforms and they're coming out with their team.
Yeah.
I will be a big fan if that's how they make their entrance. But I guess we'll see. You got to try something. So we'll see. It'll be fun to watch. That's it. That's our show. Let's end, Andy, with our promo code for this week. As a reminder, Canada 20 saves $20 off either Andy or myself's package. Normally priced at $39. Get it for just $19. So head over to WagerTalk.com to either one of our capper pages to check that out. Next week, we will be back. We have our third major of the year, the U.S. Open. I cannot wait for that one. We always have a lot to discuss during the majors. So be very interesting to see some of these names that are playing over in London come back to some sort of a media circus next week at the U.S. Open. But I can't wait to break it all down with you next week, Andy. On behalf of Andy, myself, WagerTalk.com, make sure to hit that like button as often as you can, and we will see you guys next week.
Are you tired of games of the year and 100-unit locks? If so, check out the professional handicappers at WagerTalk.com today. We leave all that nonsense for the other guys. And for a limited time, new users get their first daily picks purchase up to $40 for only $1. $1? Whose idea was that? Johnny Detroit? I guess so. To redeem this special, just go to WagerTalk.com, choose a handicapper and their picks package using coupon code TRYWagerTalk.